Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I hope you've so far enjoyed the discussion we've been having in the first part of this program about the work of the Khidmat Centre and the Council of Mosques. I'd like to continue with that, the theme that we had, but more focused now more on the services that you actually deliver from the centre and how that service has actually enhanced people's lives, because otherwise they would not be getting the same level of service with the Islamic ethos from other sectors that provide those services. So Brother Ibrahim, in terms of people who come and use your centre, how in your view has that enhanced their lives, and do they feel much more better and secure and well-being within themselves? Have you noticed any of those changes?
Naturally, Iqbal Sahab, when you have a service provision which is very much sensitive to your own needs, your cultural needs, your faith needs, your home background needs, and it has an ambience which is very much what you want as a service, which is homely environment, and you have people from similar background who are able to provide the services required on a one-to-one basis or communal service provision. And I think that's important because once you have that provided, then obviously you become comfortable, you become listened to, you are cared for in the way you would like to be cared, which may be not the case in other services which are not culturally sensitive to the needs of the people with learning disabilities and so on and so forth. And I think coupled with that, it's important to appreciate that we are not just a service provider as Khidmat Centre, but we're also a policy maker. We form and shape some of the services which are provided by local authority in the area which we provide and which we work in and upon. Okay, that's important. I think not are we saying we are the only service providers within Bradford. We are the service providers which care and look after the cultural needs of our community, but also there are other service providers.
So you help others, the mainstream service providers, shape their delivery of service in a way which takes on board cultural faith issues as well.
And rightly so, because we as an organisation cannot provide all the services for everyone. Obviously we would like to, and we do, try to provide a holistic service which is for the needs of our local community. So it's looking at the whole picture, the whole care plan of somebody with learning disability.
Within that you provide bereavement services as well, do you not? The Council of Mosques?
Council of Mosques do, yes.
Right, the Council of Mosques provides the bereavement services as well.
Indeed.
The Council of Mosques has two delivery arms. One is Khidmat Centres,
yes,
and the other one is bereavement services, which oversee and manage 2 cemeteries and all the Muslim burial arrangements. We are the only, I think, organization and only kind of bereavement services we provide 24/7 access in terms of actually Muslim burials. Alhamdulillah, again it is being looked at not only in Bradford but elsewhere in the country to see whether our model here can be transferred elsewhere, and that I think is also very important.
Well, I think it's absolutely vital because disparate services, people in some small towns and cities struggle to develop a cohesive service. So I think anything that they can learn from Bradford and other places. I know in Bolton, BCom, which is also a Council of Mosque organisation, they provide similar services, but how good they are, I'm sure they're equally as good, or you are better. They'll probably learn from you. But I've also, coming back to one of the service around learning disabilities, I mean earlier when we were talking about it, your learning disabilities service provision and the experience from that has now become international, you were telling me.
Yes, we've had a number of meetings, Iqbal Bhai, from a friend, a colleague who happens to live in France.
Right.
And this brother runs a school for people with learning disabilities in Pakistan.
Right.
And it has been running for the last 17 years. So he's actually been out to Khidmat Centre on a number of occasions from Paris, from France. And he has had a conversation with myself and Ishtaq Sahab and seeing the services which we provide. And I've had on my own travels, when I've gone home to visit my family, I've been able to see his school. And very impressive, I tell you. And we are looking at twinning with this school in Pakistan.
Oh, excellent.
and maybe overlapping and sharing some of the resources, services, expertise, skills which we offer and they offer across the water.
So there's obviously a huge cross-cultural, development going on.
Intercultural, cross-cultural.
Between Britain and Pakistan.
Exactly.
On the issues around learning disabilities, etc.
Yes.
I mean, is there any other area? You was talking about the bereavement services as well, where other people are sort of watching or wanting to learn from you to see how you structured it and how it provides benefits to the community. So I mean, both of these areas show to be, and I'm sure to our viewers as well, that when people, Muslim community, come together and they work together as a collective organization, then they can be much more successful in securing better quality services for their members of the Muslim community within their own areas.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to say is that our ethos is to actually look at those areas of need which perhaps do not figure within the Muslim community in terms of our planning and discussions and our thinking. Talking about needs of people with disabilities, it's not a common discussion and debate area in our community. We have another project. We provide a resettlement rehabilitation program for Muslim women in prison. Yes. Again, how many people in our community actually talk about?
Yeah, we want to push that aside, don't we? We don't want to expose some of these issues.
Yes. We talk about, we provide services for our elders.
Yes.
Daycare provisions, health.
Have you got anything around domestic violence? Do you do any?
Our domestic violence support is linked to the Muslim women in prison, because many of the women were coming out of prisons. Our own sisters are coming out. They have a long history of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and other issues. So when they come back into the community, they need a high level of support and caring for to make sure that they are given a second chance to move on in life.
Right.
Again, a difficult issue, but what is important is that this work in Bradford, as has been picked up by David Lamy, a national report. We are working closely with the Prison Reform Trust nationally, CLINC. Only last Monday we were at the Ministry of Justice. The idea for us is not to only provide a practical delivery at ground level, but also to inform policy. And I think sometimes our organizations are either very good at policy, but not delivery, or they are extremely good at delivery but not the policy.
So we're good at talking but not delivering.
Yeah. So we are trying to actually combine both of these roles in a kind of successful kind of ways, and I think we're doing very well.
Oh, definitely. I definitely agree. Sorry, brother.
Well, there are a number of challenges faced by the Muslim community, not just in Bradford but nationally. One of the ones which Ishtaq alluded to a couple of minutes ago, an area which we need to look at maybe as the Muslim community is fostering.
Right. Huge issue.
Exactly. Where are our Muslim children going? Who are they being cared by, looked after? Okay. Adoption is another one. Okay. And some of the other challenges which we face, and again, we've had the opportunity to visit some of these institutions in England last year, is looking at children who are terminally ill, hospices. We've actually been out to a hospice in the UK where we find Muslim children.
Oh yes, yes. In fact, I'm hoping, inshallah, one day. I mean, one of my friends, and you'll know him as well, Sail Suleiman from Halifax. He's done quite a bit of work around Muslim engagement with hospices, end-of-life care issues. So inshallah, one day I'm hoping that he's going to come here.
Isn't it sad that in UK, Muslim faith community is second largest, and we do not have a single Muslim-run hospice?
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree.
Sad?
Yeah.
Isn't it sad?
Yeah.
And here is a community.
Yeah.
And if I go digress.
Yeah,
here is a community which, on annual basis, is actually giving anything between 400 to 500 million pounds.
It's the most generous in the country.
Yeah, one of the generous in the charity. okay, and we don't have a hospice.
Yes.
We even can't provide.
I agree with you. Definitely, yes, definitely.
We can't actually provide that level of care to our elders, to our children, to our sisters and our mothers, even their last dying days or something. And I think as a community, we need to waken up and take our responsibility, something. And I think in that context, I think it's important the work which the Khidmat Center does, and a number of other community centers. I think it's important that work is actually valued, is promoted, and we keep pushing, because there's somebody, 14,000 Muslim male prisoners.
Yes,
in UK.
I know.
14,000.
So 18 to 20%. We did a program when Sophia was here on Muslim women prisoners, and it's a shame that here we have Muslims getting involved in such a high level of criminal activity that they are being imprisoned. I mean, there is an issue about sentencing as well. We won't go into.
No, we can look at. We can look at.
But I think you're right, Ishtiyaq.
We can look at the rights and wrongs of how people have actually come into. The fact of the matter that 14,000 and growing Muslim male population in prison is something as a community we should be extremely concerned and worried about.
Why do you think people are not, they turn a blind eye to it? I mean, is this issue about, hamara bachcha kya karta hai, we're not interested as long as he brings the money in, or we're driving nice fast cars, we're living in a nice house, whether they're involved in criminal activity or not, they just not, parents are not taking that responsibility. Is that an issue?
I think parents have to take some responsibility. I think we as a community as a whole need to take our responsibility. Our leadership has to take a responsibility. So I think the responsibility is shared.
See, the question, for example, sometimes when I sit with government officers is, why are imams not bringing these young people, particularly around radicalization, extremism, for example? I mean, I know you've been heavily engaged in this work on a national and international level. That, why can't you stop your young people from getting involved in some of these issues? And they seem to put the focus on imams. And I know that the imams play a very important role in helping to shape the community, but they cannot sit there and individually stop people from doing some of these horrible acts that they do. So
I think the focus on imam and masajid is I think misleading.
I agree.
It's misleading, and it's very disproportional. We have to look at other factors. We have to look at what is happening within our family structures. We also have to look at within our schools. Why is it that in 2018 Muslim children are coming out of schools with a very poor level of education and education performance? Schools have to take responsibility. Parents have to take responsibilities. Imam and masajid need to play their role. But I think too much focus on imam and masajid is actually to avoid.
It's counterproductive, isn't it?
Counterproductive, and to avoid and mislead the issue.
Yes.
This is something. I'm not saying the masajid doesn't have a responsibility. Of course, masajid have a responsibility. Imams have a responsibility because they are the institutions which are most sacred of institutions in our community and have a very important role. But I think we need to look at government's role. We need to look at racism. We need to look at Islamophobia. We need to look at how criminal justice works, whether it works in our favor or against us. We need to look at a whole range of things.
I mean, so everybody sort of talks about foreign policy, for example, how that has influenced a lot of young people's thoughts processes. But the government refuses to acknowledge that foreign policy should play a role. But I mean, that is a huge debate.
Not the government only refuses. The government refuses to actually have a meaningful dialogue with the Muslim community.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Or something, and basically, foreign policy, any input from the Muslim community is a no-go area. Government doesn't want to actually even touch that area.
Yes.
So we know that there is a high level of anger, frustration about the government's foreign policy, and as a citizen of this country, as a member of the British government, we are saying, well, you have a responsibility to listen to us.
Yes.
And perhaps if you do listen to us, together we can get this issue under control.
I mean, obviously, the very recent thing is about this government's attempt or initiative to tackle extremism and Radicalization and the appointment of Sara Khan, who's who's going to be the czar for extremism and radicalization. And I know a lot of people have expressed grave concern about this appointment. I mean, I don't want to really talk about that tonight. I mean, obviously we could, because that is something that is going to have a huge impact on the Muslim community across the whole of the UK. And if the government does, people don't have confidence.
For me, Sara Khan is not an issue. Okay, and I don't want to personalize it.
No, I don't want to personalize her. It's the role that she's going to play. If she's going to be the leader of this
my concerns and my criticism, and I think this also goes for Muslim community or other sections of the Muslim community who have expressed frustration and some form of objection to and it's the process. It's the process by which the government appoints people, and then once the government is appointed, then it says to the Muslim community, you have to live with it and make sense of it. Okay, now that is wrong, yeah, and that I think that is full of racism, that is full of Islamophobic approach of the government. So what we say to the government, that if you want to carry the Muslim community with you, and we want to work with you, and we want to be active partners and participants in what you're doing, talk to us. Talk to us.
I mean, we don't have anybody from the government side at the moment, so I understand what you're trying to say. So what I'd say to anybody who works in government, who is in government circles, I mean, I do work in the government circles as an advisor, and we have said to ministers over and over again that you need to come out into the regions, to come to places like Bradford, Manchester, Leicester, Birmingham, and talk to people on the ground and hear what they have to say. I mean, we came once to your centre with Baroness Wasi when she was a minister, and it turned out to be a very good meeting where the people, I've been told we've got time for another break now. So brothers and sisters, the discussion is getting quite interesting. I think there are some really hot topics now coming up. These are something that really affect the Muslim community. We haven't even touched Islamophobia. Inshallah, we'll come back. Please don't go away. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.